Hello, this is Miss Andrea. Today I want to talk about some free homeschool online tools that you can use to teach English grammar. Back when I used to homeschool, I had compiled a website of hundreds of free online sites that you can use to homeschool. Unfortunately, over the last 8 years, those have dwindled. They've gone behind paywalls. I guess it just got too expensive to keep the servers up. But people just stopped providing these free resources for homeschoolers. So what I plan to do going forward, at least once a week, is to find some free homeschool resources to present to you. Some of them will only be around temporarily, but some will last the test of time. So let's do it. So this is SparkNotes, and I use this to help teach my homeschool class. Now I teach homeschool history, but I feel like it's a waste of resources to teach history and not integrate language arts, because it just makes sense. If you're teaching about the Middle Ages, why wouldn't you be reading literature about the Middle Ages? If you're teaching about World War II, why wouldn't you be reading a biography written during World War II? Why wouldn't you, reinforce what you're learning in history with what you're learning in language arts? I've always just found that a smart thing to do. All that said, I write my history curriculum, but I supplement with SparkNotes. So SparkNotes is basically, back in the day, we would have our parents buy those yellow books that would help us cheat through literature. It would summarize the literature so that we could talk about it intelligently in class and never have to actually have read it. You can do that with SparkNotes to a degree, but I do think you'll get called out by missing stuff if you don't actually read the text, if your teacher is paying any attention. So SparkNotes, the reason for them existing is to reinforce what you've been taught in school, to help you make sense of some of the more classical, more difficult literature that you're going to come across. In addition to providing a lot of works that are in the public domain directly on your screen, SparkNotes has guides to a lot of other novels that you will have to purchase. And when I say guides, if you're taking a literature class and you know you're going to get tested on that literature class, you definitely want to go to SparkNotes, because it has questions and answers that are going to warm you up for that test. This is how I found SparkNotes. These no fear guides are written by the SparkNotes people, and they have on one side the actual text, and on the other side they have a plain language interpretation. And that's kind of what SparkNotes does for you. So let's get a little bit further into it. So let's see. Right now we're doing ancient times, and Homer's the Iliad is roughly the third tome written that modern man knows about. First was the Epic of Gilgamesh, and then we get the books of the Old Testament, and then we get Homer's the Iliad. So Because the language is difficult with the Iliad, what I did was I pulled up the Iliad book 1, right? So basically what I do is I pull up a spoken version of the Iliad, and then I have the students read side by side. This one isn't a perfect match, but I find a perfect match before I go into it. So that's that. So then, after they've read and listened to it, then we go into the study guide, book 1. And we just, we discuss the summary, and they usually warm up to talking about it as you go through the summary. The analysis, and then they really get into it when you start talking about what the different characters are and who they are. And they started comparing Greek and Roman names on their own, of these characters. Themes, symbols, and motifs. This is the meat of it, because they start to see, what the points that were trying to be made and things of that. Quotes, certain things that were said that seem weird or just out of context for today's kids. And then further study, book 1. This is the questions and answers that a student would use to make sure they know what they need to know before taking a test. So this is how I use SparkNotes. You have the note for your Shakespeare, full text of that, regular text. You have note for your Shakespeare, full version, original text, and modern language. You have things that are in the public domain, for instance, the Iliad. And there's a lot done in Note for Shakespeare. All these are Note for Shakespeare guides. And then you have a bunch of other literature that students can explore. And then on top of that, you have guides under other literature. Beowulf, The Canterbury Tales, A Tale of Two Cities, Agamemnon, Huckleberry Finn, American Dream, Angela's Ashes. Pick another random letter. Les Miserables, Lesson Before Dying. Let's go into Les Mis. So, of course, the student would have the books separately. Oh, wait, they have full text of Les Mis, because Les Mis is in public domain. So, like, if you want to teach your child about a novel, or teach your homeschool student, or teach your homeschool class about a novel, and no, you don't have time, or maybe someone doesn't have the money to go and get the book, a lot of these novels have full text. Life of Pi. I think you would have to buy Life of Pi because it's a relatively new novel. But you still get summary, plot overview, breaks down different things. And so this really helps homeschool teachers have discussions. I know as a homeschool parent, you may not know all this literature, but if you want to give your high school student a good literature experience, read the book and then go to SparkNotes and start reading the analyses and all those things. And then y'all can have intelligent discussions about them. And then it also helps them with writing. So I haven't discovered these yet, and I will get into it because this could be super helpful. I didn't know SparkNotes now had all of these subjects, but I was looking particularly for writing. So there's just writing advice all through this. So that said, this is literature. This is read the book, talk about the book, right? And unfortunately, this is age 14 and up. There's just not a ton of free online literature for younger kids. It's all currently behind paywalls. But library books, just go to the library, get books, read them, and just have frank conversations about them. It's not really until high school that you need more in-depth analyses and stuff. So it is what it is. And back when I was homeschooling, there was so much for younger kids and very little for upper level kids. But now, like, everything is just, you have to join the website and pay something. So that makes it harder. But, how many times have I said Khan Academy to you people? Ever. They just upped their game on language arts. Previously, this is what they had. Nope, that is not what they had. Previously, this was their language arts. This was Khan Academy's language arts before. And this is what I put middle schoolers in, just to refresh them on everything they need to know in language arts. You can take a course challenge, figure out what they don't know, and then go through those topics and fix those holes. But now, once they can read, which I guess is first grade, Khan Academy has reading and language arts from second through, they just added ninth grade. It was through eighth. So they're still working on getting those through. So soon you'll be able to do all your math and all your language arts on Khan Academy. But I would still suggest using SparkNotes for deeper analysis. So building vocabulary, close reading drama, close reading informational text. I'm in 8th grade right now. Building knowledge. There's not a ton of grammar in it though. What do they have in 9th grade? Borders, close reading, social fiction, apocalypse. The apocalypse, so they put a book in it. This is not a full course yet. It's not a full course yet. So by next year, because they started this in the spring, I think, when they realized that school was a mess. They just started building this last spring, and they've done a bit. So I think by next fall of 2021, you'll be able to use Khan Academy fully for reading and language arts. They'll always read more than what is required in school. Like, the kids who read the bare minimum don't do well on the SAT. You gotta read it voraciously. You really do. But in the meanwhile, this grammar. So what my students do is I just point them through the grammar. I say, work your way through the grammar. Take your time. Finish it by the end of the year. But these are the novels I'm going to pair with your history. And we take a little time each class to discuss it and the parallels to the history of the time, what insight the novel has given them about the history, and it really brings history to life. Finally, Purdue Owl. I like Purdue Owl if you need another source. Purdue Owl is actually a website for Purdue University, but they have resources for non-Purdue users. Parents, we're looking at parents now. Helping children start writing, pre-writing, writing about fiction. So this isn't something you can put your kid in front of, but this is going to help the homeschool parent get a better grasp on the subject themselves so that they can teach it. Ooh, irregular verbs. So it's more like handouts and charts and things like that that'll give you what you need to teach it. Honestly, I like the idea of creating charts of irregular verbs and homonyms and things like that for students to just be able to look at all the time. And this is very useful. Spelling, common words that there's trouble spelling. So, like I said, this is not for you to just say to the student, hey, go do this link. This is for you, the parent, to arm yourself with the information that you are going to need to teach it to the child. And a lot of us homeschool parents find ourselves teaching at homeschool co-ops. So here's the information you need right here. So when you go to the main Purdue Writing Lab, it's owl.purdue.edu. You're going to be here, and this is for college students, and this is for non-college students. Free resources including writing and teaching writing, research, grammar, and mechanics, English as a second language, and job professional writing. So you click on that one, and there's just lots of things that are here to help you teach writing and grammar. So I hope this was helpful. I will stay on the hunt for free homeschool resources. And here's why you want free homeschool resources. When I was homeschooling, we had a budget. And the children needed enrichment. They needed educational enrichment. For us, it was a homeschool program that we found that teaches the arts, all of the arts, theater, music, etc. Plus my children had private piano teachers, and then they had fencing or taekwondo or swimming, whatever sport they had at that time. And that's where I spent my money. For the actual academics, I found free online things. And we all know my kids learned well and did well and went to college. So that's why these free resources are so important. I hope I was helpful. Until next time.